Welcome to the Olive Grove Podcast. Are you ready for a deep dive?
Absolutely.
Today we're looking at Daniel chapter 12.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is.
It's a popular chapter.
It's a really fascinating chapter.
It is.
We're going to be talking all about the idea of a final Hanukkah
Okay.
and looking at end times events
All right.
and the millennial temple.
Okay.
That's on your source material.
All right. Well, you know what? What's always interesting to me about Daniel 12 is this idea of impending doom,
Right.
but also hope.
Right.
It's not just about laying out the events.
Yeah.
It's framing them in this larger context
Ah,
of God intervening
right.
and victory for those who remain faithful.
Absolutely. And so right from the start, verse 1 sets the stage for us.
Okay.
We've got Archangel Michael here,
Yes.
described as the champion of Israel.
The champion.
The champion coming onto the scene.
Right.
And the chapter talks about a time of unprecedented distress.
Right.
Something the Jewish people have never, ever experienced before.
Never before.
But in the midst of this turmoil, there's a promise
Yes.
of deliverance for those
Yeah.
whose names are written in the book of life.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
The book of life.
Isn't it?
It really ties in, I think, with this idea of salvation through accepting Yeshua or Jesus as the Messiah.
Yes.
It's a reminder that even during the most difficult times,
Right.
that there's a way to find deliverance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like this beacon of light
Yeah.
in the darkest time.
Hobby.
And then verses 2 and 3 go on to talk about the resurrection and judgment.
Wow.
Such an awe-inspiring concept.
It is.
Some will awaken to eternal life, and others face a very different fate,
Right.
eternal shame and abhorrence.
Yeah, it's not just about surviving.
Yeah.
It's about the nature of that eternal existence.
Yes. And
Those who spread the gospel
Right.
and lead others to righteousness
Uh-huh.
are described as shining like stars forever.
Yeah, it's so evocative.
It makes you think about the lasting impact of our actions.
Yeah.
Almost like a celestial reward.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
That imagery. But then we get to verse 4,
Okay.
and there's this instruction to seal the book until the time of the end.
Interesting.
So this knowledge wasn't meant to be fully understood
Yeah.
until a very specific point in history. Almost like it's time-sensitive information.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
It really makes you think about the nature of knowledge itself.
Right.
Is some knowledge
Right.
meant to be revealed only at certain times?
Yes.
I mean, even today, with so much information available,
Right.
many people are still wandering aimlessly.
Yes.
It seems like having all the pieces of the puzzle
Uh-huh.
doesn't guarantee you'll see the full picture.
Right. It's like we need the right lens to understand.
Yeah, you need the right lens.
And then we move on to verses 5 through 7.
Okay,
And it's almost like a cinematic scene here.
right.
Daniel sees two angels
Uh-huh.
on the banks of the Tigris River.
Okay,
And they're engaged in this conversation
okay.
about the timeline of events.
Yeah, this is where we start to get some timelines,
Yeah.
which is really helpful
Yes.
for understanding the bigger picture.
It is.
And it's revealed that this time of intense suffering,
Right.
this times and a half will last for 3.5 years.
Wow.
And it's designed to shatter the power of the people, meaning
There.
all those attempts to achieve salvation on their own
Uh-huh.
will fail.
Yeah, 3.5 years is a long time,
It is.
especially considering the intensity of what's described here.
Yeah.
It's almost like a cosmic reset button, you know,
Yeah.
pushing humanity to acknowledge their need for something greater than themselves.
Greater than themselves.
But
so-
even Daniel,
Yeah.
this prophet who's communed with God,
Right.
gets confused
Yeah,
at this point.
right.
Verses 8 and 9
Uh-huh.
show him struggling to grasp the meaning.
Right.
And the angel basically tells him to be patient. It will all make sense in the end.
That's a moment I think many of us can relate to,
Yes.
regardless of our spiritual understanding.
Right.
Sometimes we just crave clarity.
Yes.
We want to know,
Uh-huh.
but complete understanding requires patience
It does.
and faith.
Yes.
We have to trust that it'll all become clear,
Right.
even if it takes time.
It's a good reminder we're not meant to know everything all at once.
Yeah.
Now, verses 10 through 12
Okay.
really delve into how people will react during this time.
Okay.
We see this clear distinction.
Okay.
Many will purify themselves,
Uh-huh.
and the wicked will remain in their wickedness.
Right. It's like a dividing line
It is.
right down the middle.
wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And what's crucial here is discernment.
Yes.
Those who have cultivated this deep spiritual understanding,
Right.
those who are in tune with God's will, they'll be able to navigate these tough times. But those who haven't fostered that connection,
Right.
who haven't sought to grow spiritually, are
Like,
going to be swept up in the chaos.
And then things get even more specific.
Okay.
With timelines.
Okay.
Verses 10 through 12 mention 1290 days,
Okay, 1290.
beginning from the abomination that causes desolation,
Right.
which refers to the Antichrist demanding worship in the temple.
Right.
But there are also 1,335 days, marking a time of blessing
Okay.
for those who endure.
All right.
And I have to admit, those extra 75 days
Yeah.
have always fascinated me.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yes.
And this is where this idea of a final Hanukkah comes into play.
Okay.
According to your source material,
Yes.
this period represents a time of exile and cleansing
Okay.
for the Jewish people,
Huh.
a crucial step in preparing for the Millennial Temple's dedication.
So we're talking about a period of intense purification
Yes.
leading up to this new era
Yes.
marked by the Millennial Temple.
That's right.
And this is where the final Hanukkah comes in.
Exactly. If we look back at the historical context of Hanukkah, it commemorates the rededication of the Second Temple after it was desecrated
Yes.
by the Seleucid Empire.
Right.
This final Hanukkah,
Yes.
according to your source,
Right.
represents a similar event,
Okay.
but on a much grander scale,
Wow.
the dedication of the Millennial Temple.
So instead of just focusing on the doom and gloom,
Right.
often associated with end times prophecies,
Yeah,
Daniel chapter 12 actually paints this picture
it does.
of hope and renewal,
Yeah.
culminating in this celebration
A celebration.
of the final Hanukkah.
That's right. It's a message that transcends time.
Yes,
It has implications for how we live today.
absolutely. And in verse 13,
Okay.
Daniel receives these instructions to continue his walk with God,
Yeah.
to rest in death,
Mm-hmm.
and to await his reward on the last day.
That's a beautiful image of faithfulness
It is.
and the promise of ultimate reward.
Yes.
Daniel dedicated his entire life to serving God.
Yeah.
And even in death, that service continues,
Right.
pointing towards a glorious resurrection and eternal life.
Absolutely. It really drives home the point that our earthly journey
Yeah.
is just a prelude to something far greater,
It is a prelude.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Daniel's story, and really this whole chapter,
Yeah.
seems to offer reassurance to all believers
It does.
that if we remain faithful,
Uh-huh.
even amidst trials and tribulations,
Yes.
there's a glorious reward waiting for us in the end.
Absolutely. And if we connect that back to this idea of the final Hanukkah,
Yes,
it takes on even more significance.
it does.
Hanukkah, as you know,
Uh-huh.
is a celebration of rededication,
Yes.
of light overcoming darkness.
Right.
Could this final Hanukkah symbolize the ultimate victory
Yes.
of good over evil,
That's an incredible thought.
the establishment of God's kingdom on earth?
It really does bring this whole chapter full circle.
It does.
Starting with this picture of intense tribulation,
Yeah.
but ending with this hopeful promise of restoration and celebration.
Yes, and those 75 days.
Yeah, can you unpack that a little more
Yeah.
for our listener?
So those 75 days
Uh-huh.
immediately follow the initial 1290 days of tribulation.
Okay.
And your source suggests that this period represents a time of exile
Right.
and cleansing for the Jewish people.
Okay.
Like I said, a crucial step in preparing for that Millennial Temple's dedication.
That makes sense.
And remember,
Uh-huh.
throughout history, the number 7 has symbolized completion and perfection.
Yes.
And here we have 75 days,
Right.
almost like an amplified version of that symbolism.
Right. So after going through these intense trials,
Yes.
the Jewish people then undergo this period of purification,
Yes.
like a spiritual refinement,
Exactly.
before entering this new era
Right.
with a millennial temple.
That's right.
And this is where the final Hanukkah comes in.
Exactly.
So it's not just about passively waiting
No.
for these prophecies to unfold.
It's about actively participating
It is.
in the unfolding of God's plan.
We have a role to play in this.
We do.
Don't we?
We're not just observers.
Right.
We're active participants.
And the choices we make today carry eternal weight.
Precisely. And if we embrace that perspective,
Yeah.
if we live with intention and purpose,
Yeah.
understanding that our actions have consequences,
Yes.
then we're not just observers,
Uh-huh.
but active participants in bringing about God's plan.
I love that.
What stands out to you as you reflect on Daniel chapter 12 and this idea of a final Hanukkah?
You know what resonates with me the most is this message of hope.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the darkness and despair.
It is.
Often associated with end times prophecies.
Yeah.
But Daniel chapter 12 reminds us that even in the midst of suffering, God is working.
Yes.
And his plan ultimately leads to restoration and triumph.
Yes.
And this idea of a final Hanukkah.
Right.
This ultimate celebration of dedication and renewal.
A celebration.
Offers such a powerful antidote to fear and despair.
I couldn't agree more. It really does shift our focus from the trials to the triumph.
Yes.
From the darkness to the light.
Exactly.
And it reminds us that we have a role to play.
Yeah.
In ushering in that era of peace and righteousness.
What do you think our listener might take away from this?
You know, I think the core message here is this. Daniel chapter 12 isn't just some abstract prophecy that we have to decipher. It's a story of hope and resilience.
Yes.
And the ultimate victory of good over evil.
Right.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, God is in control, and he has a plan.
Yes.
But it's also a call to action.
Yes.
Encouraging us to actively seek understanding, to deepen our faith, and to share that faith with others, knowing that our actions can impact eternity.
It's about living with intentionality.
Yes.
And recognizing our choices matter.
They do.
Not just for ourselves, but for the world around us.
That's right.
And it's about holding on to hope.
Yes.
Knowing that even amidst chaos and uncertainty, God's plan is unfolding.
That's right.
Ultimately leading to restoration and a celebration of unimaginable magnitude.
Celebration.
And if you're as captivated by Daniel chapter 12 and this idea of a final Hanukkah as we are, we encourage you to continue exploring these concepts.
Absolutely.
For more deep dives into fascinating biblical topics like this one, make sure you subscribe to the Olive Grove podcast on YouTube.
And if you want early access to future episodes and tons of other amazing content, head over to the My Christian Space website.
Yes, we're always exploring new ideas.
We are.
And sharing insights to help you grow in your faith and understanding.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up this deep dive,
we'd
like to leave you with a final thought to ponder. What does this idea of a final Hanukkah, this ultimate celebration of dedication and renewal, mean to you personally?
That's a powerful image to reflect on.
It is.
And we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to continue exploring this incredible relevance of biblical prophecy to our lives today.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on the Olive Grove podcast.